we use necromen chemicals for shark mitigation and fish and odor protection.
So before we begin, can anyone tell me how many humans were killed by sharks last year? The actual number is 4. Zach, could you tell me how many sharks were killed by humans last year? The actual number is somewhere between 100 and 250 million sharks. That's about 11,500 sharks every single hour. And most of these sharks are caught as illegal line catch, and their fins are used to support the shark fin soup trade. And when this happens, the sharks are caught, their fins are cut off while they're still alive, and they're thrown back in the water, they'll sink to the bottom, jam, or be eaten by other sharks. This is very detrimental to the entire ocean ecosystem, because sharks are what we call keystone species, which means the local food webs rely on. And since there are over 400 different species of sharks, they are basically part of every single ocean ecosystem. So if they're taken out, the entire ocean ecosystem collapses. Additionally, they can also hurt countries' economies because many countries rely on shark tourism. And a single shark can bring in over $2 million throughout its lifetime. However, its fins are only worth about $180.
Since Jaws became a worldwide phenomenon, the media has portrayed sharks as negative alien creatures. Despite this being completely false, the portrayal took off, and now many people either do not care about sharks or are afraid of them and want them dead. The consequences of this are lots of fishing, legally and illegally. Unless the public realizes the true value of sharks, the killing will continue.
So our goal is to improve the public image of sharks, and we hope to do so by decreasing the negative interactions between sharks and humans. And so by doing so, that will allow the image of sharks to not be tainted by shark attacks, which will hopefully want people to support shark conservation and want to learn more about sharks. So the way that we want to do that is by creating a surf leash which repels sharks. There are 2 parts to the project. One of them is using a chemical called a shark necromone, which is an oil extracted from decomposing shark tissue, which repels sharks. And now we need to incorporate that into a surf leash. And the reason why we chose a surf leash is because surfers make up over 50% of shark attack victims. So if we can eliminate surfers as attack victims, you already take out a big proportion of all attack victims.
To create the gel, we used a procedure recommended by Dr. Scarcelli, who is the University of Maryland bioengineering professor. We mixed our necromone chemical with phosphate buffered saline, a phytoinitiated cardaractère, and PEG dicrylate. It took us multiple attempts to discover concentrations that effectively allowed the necromone chemical to diffuse out of the gel while still being able to transform from a liquid to a solid. After mixing, everything was a centrifuge. We used a UV light to warm the mixture until it formed a gel, and this usually took about 8 minutes. Here's a video of us creating the gel. As you can see, as the UV light shines on this part of the mixture, it solidifies and becomes a solid.
So the second part of our project is making the actual surf leash. And so there are a few goals we had for our device. Firstly, it had to have a low profile so that it didn't inhibit surfer performance. Secondly, it had to be a cheap material which worked well in our budget, which did not corrode, but there were multiple uses in salt water, so we chose PVC. And lastly, it also had to be submerged in the water while the surfer is surfing. So we placed it close to the ankle strap, because usually while surfers are wading, they're full feet in the water. That's also what most surfers would attack. So the necromone can dissolve that into the water while the surfer is waiting for a wave.
Because we do not have any saltwater available, we used the Potomac River. Despite it being freshwater, it worked well because the flow of the river mimicked the ocean currents. We put each gel in a mesh bag, which is very breathable, and tossed it into the middle of the river. We individually marked each gel so that we could tell which one was which. We measured the mass of the gel before and after testing to discover the change in mass. Each one was in the water for about 18 hours for ample time for diffusion.
So we gathered 2 types of results, quantitative and qualitative. For the quantitative results, we saw that 7 out of the 9 samples had lost mass, an average of about 6 grams. And for the qualitative, we observed that the necromone had dissolved out of the gel. We were able to tell this because the necromone has a yellowish color. And so after the 18 hours, those gels, the 7 out of those 9 gels, didn't have the yellow color anymore. And so when we analyzed our data, we thought that the 2 outliers could be explained by the idea that the 2 gels were stuck under a rock or a log, and so there wasn't a lot of water flow. And the overall change in mass for the quantitative data is statistically significant, which is good because that shows that the
validation aspect of our product to test the product's effectiveness as a whole. We'd like to test it in real-world situations that we real ocean with real sharks. And we'd like to make the next one huge out faster to parallel the time that a surfer is actually surfing. And we'd like to test the performance of the leash and see if it could withstand the beating that waves give it. The STEM capstone helped us to teach us the reality of research projects. It's not like you just think of something one day and you go out and do it. It takes months of planning and organizing, and then months after you test it to analyze your work. It helped us apply the knowledge we had about scientific theory and apply it to our project. And it gave us the flexibility we needed because we always had to go to the University of Maryland to create the gel. And it was great because the STEM class was very flexible. We'd like to thank the following groups of people, especially Dr. Scarcelli gave us the entire bioengineering department. Without generously offering us the lab space, resources, and feedback, this project would have never been possible. We'd also like to thank Ms. Gunner for being our in-school mentor, and Ms. Starling for teaching the class and providing valuable feedback in school. Thank you. That was in the reflection. That's what we did next.
Yeah, we didn't have enough time. We didn't have enough time.